As usual, we're gathered here today to listen to another exposition of the Lord Buddha's teaching. And before we commence today's session, let's all take a moment to remind ourselves that the reason we are blessed today with the teaching that has helped us thus far and will help us deliver ourselves from the shackles of samsara once and for all is because of the Supremely Enlightened One. He who committed himself and dedicated himself towards the liberation of all sentient beings, including you and I. His selfless commitment, the results of which we reap today, in order that we are all able to free ourselves of all suffering. And this is because of the Perfect One, the Omniscient One, the infinitely virtuous One, the undefeated One, the peerless One, the unparalleled One, the Supreme Gautama Buddha. And therefore, before we proceed, let us all take a moment to pay homage to the Supreme Lord Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. The journey to ultimate bliss has to start somewhere. What were you expecting me to say? Were you expecting me to say something grand? It's got to start somewhere, right? Duh. It's got to start somewhere indeed. But you can't achieve ultimate bliss when there is not even just the normal happiness that people afford themselves in day-to-day life. If you recall in possibly the last two sermons we've done at the monastery, the English sermons, we talked a lot about being able to forgive, how to find peace within, how to find acceptance. We talked about anger and how you can learn to not manage, because we are not about managing negative emotions, because to manage is simply to let it be there and just keep it under control. That is not what we use the Dhamma for. Our intention, our goal is to entirely eradicate negative emotions, not to manage them, but really to manage them out. Manage them out. Get rid of them, extinguish them once and for all. So, I've been building up to this day. What I've been trying to help you do is to find a level of peace and happiness within yourselves, which has to be the foundation on which we start building the journey or the path to ultimate happiness. So I hope you have been practicing what we've been learning here. 20% is what we do here, 80% is what you've got to be doing at home. So, for instance, we've been talking about forgiveness. And I hope you've been putting the Dhamma into practice. And I hope you've been able to dig deep within your soul, within your heart, and ask yourselves, are there people that you have struggled to forgive? Are there people against whom you have resentments towards? Are there people you feel have done wrong unto you? And then you keep harboring those feelings of ill will and anger and hatred, those emotions. We need to learn to be able to let go. Letting go doesn't need to start with big things, like letting go of my children, letting go of my house, letting go of my TV. Doesn't have to start there. In fact, that's the last place you ought to start. You can start by letting go of ill will towards others. You can start by letting go of holding on to feelings, holding on to these strong negative emotions of anger and hatred. You can start letting go there. See, we're not talking about letting go of material things. Forgiveness is the best kind of giving. Forgiving. It doesn't cost you a penny. It's not easy to do. It's easier to give away your house than to give forgiveness. Don't you think? Because one, you just get up, open the door, walk outside, close the door, here's the keys. You've given your house. Forgiveness is more difficult, isn't it? Because there's nothing material associated there, nothing material attached. The Buddha's teaching is for us to be able to find peace within. As students of the Dhamma, hopefully you are now beginning to realize that whenever you are suffering inside, that you only ought to point the finger one way, and that is towards you. I think that's as good as any. That's as good as any place to start with the Dhamma. Always ask yourself, which way am I pointing my finger? Your fingerometer. Is it pointing outwards or is it pointing inwards? Whenever there's suffering. It comes with accepting that I am the architect of my suffering. I create my own suffering, because really there is no such thing as suffering. In reality, in real terms, suffering does not exist. We can create suffering in our minds, but it does not exist out there. And that's a good thing, because it means we can be empowered. It means we are entirely in control as to whether we suffer or not. So if you're suffering right now, guess who's responsible? 50%. Who? The other 50? You. You know how when people break up, they say, it's not you, it's me? Yeah. Always. It's never you, it's always me. So, last meditation program, which is exactly a month ago. I remember some faces, but I don't think all of you were here. I explained to you this method, 4-stepped approach to how you can practice the Dhamma, or you can approach meditation. I talked about the Chaturaraka. Starting off with Buddhanusatiya, moving on to Marananusatiya, Asubhanusatiya, and Mettanusatiya. I want to put that into practice today, because I think last time, by the time I had finished explaining all of that, we had hardly any time left to actually put it into practice. And let's use our time wisely today And I want to help you get the most out of your time today and really put what you have learned into practice through meditation. So as a starter, let us take a few moments to reflect within ourselves and see how much we have transformed, who we used to be and who we are today. Because really all of the Dhamma starts with joy. In a heart which has no joy, the ultimate bliss of Nibbana does not grow. You need a foundation of joy on which we can build the palace of Nibbana. And as I always keep reminding you, like suffering, joy does not come from the outside world either. So neither happiness nor suffering are external inputs. They're both making of the mind. One's default state is actually is actually happiness. You have the choice of creating your own suffering. A choice which you all exert very well. Don't you? Like, you have a choice to vote, don't you? Some people vote, some people don't. You have a choice. Free choice, right? Everyone has a free choice. So you all have a free choice as to suffer or not to suffer. When you have a choice to suffer, why do you always choose to suffer? Because you cannot suffer if you don't want to. But we always choose to suffer. But again, as I say, it's a good thing. Because it means that suffering is not fixed. Suffering is not an uncurable disease. It's optional. It's not mandatory that we suffer. It's optional. We can choose to suffer, which means we can choose not to suffer. Given that it is our choice, let us make the right choice. Throughout samsara, we've been making the wrong choice. Oh, I have a choice as to whether I can suffer or not? Oh, great, let me choose to suffer. That's what we've been doing all along. We've been choosing to suffer, making the wrong choice. You can choose not to suffer. You can choose not to suffer. So, no matter where we are, no matter who we are, no matter where we've come from, Nibbana is within the reach of all of us. And I want you all to really believe in that. Nibbana is within the reach of all of you. Time and time I keep reminding this to all of you. Your age, your sex, your complexion, whether you're rich or poor, whether you're educated or uneducated, has nothing to do with Nibbana. It's simply the choice of suffering. Whether you're rich or poor, you have the choice to suffer. Whether you're a man or woman, you have a choice to suffer. Whether you're educated or uneducated, you have a choice to suffer. The problem is we always making the wrong choice. Always choose to suffer. That's what we do. I'm trying to teach you how to choose not to suffer. That's all this is. It's very simple. I'm trying to teach you how to make the right choice and stop making the wrong choices. So wherever we are, whoever we are, wherever we've come from, let's accept, let's be okay with where we are. That's the first place to start. Let's begin with acceptance. Let's be okay with who we are. You'll all be aware of the kind of thoughts that you have. And I think last week I talked about your temperament, your natural tendencies, the kind of person you are. There will be some among you who are more prone or who are more inclined to raga. So that is your personality trait. One who is more prone to desirous thoughts. Others who are more prone to thoughts of aversion, dvesha. And others who are more prone to thoughts of moha, delusion. That's your natural tendency. What I'm proposing to you is, let's accept that that's who we are, and let's be okay with that. That's where we have to begin. Let's be okay, let's accept. We have a problem, okay, I've got a problem. Fine. Fine. Because remember, these are your symptoms. The disease lay within, and these are your symptoms. Let me ask you this question. Think and answer carefully. We've got two diseases, okay? Two diseases. You can pick which disease you want to pick up, but you're going to have to pick up one or the other. You're going to have to pick one of these two diseases, right? There's no choice about that, but you can pick one or the other. One disease, they're both terminal, so you will die as a result of both of these. One shows symptoms, the other doesn't. So with one of these diseases, you get a temperature, you get a runny nose, you get a headache. These are the symptoms. You will die in 6 months' time. The moment you are infected, in 6 months' time you will die. However, during the course of this 6 months, symptoms will start to appear. There's the other disease, you will also die in 6 months, but there won't be any symptoms. And they're both curable. If identified soon enough and treated, you can be cured. But they're both terminal. Which of these two diseases, if given the choice, you will want to pick up? First one or second one? First one. Why is that? Because of symptoms. Yeah, exactly. Because when you're able to spot the symptoms, now you know you've got the disease and now you can start treating it. Remember, they're both curable. They're both treatable. The thoughts of raga, dvesha and moha that you sense and you find disgusting, because I know some of you, because you're so passionate about Nibbana, because you really want to get this done, you're constantly battling with raga, dvesha, moha and the symptoms of it. So for instance, there'll be some among you who are still fighting with your strong desire for food. Various things. Could be cake, could be ice cream, could be chocolate, could be pizza, could be chicken biryani, whatever. You'll be fighting. Those will be your temptations. You're fighting with your temptations. And you'll be sick of the fact that these temptations keep surfacing in your mind. Swaminas, I find it really disgusting that these temptations keep coming into my mind. I don't want it to be the case. I don't want to feel these temptations, one of you might say. For the other, it may be anger. It may be that you're constantly feeling anger towards other people, other things, events. It may be your parents. It may be your children. Maybe your relations. Maybe your colleagues. Always angry about them. And this is what you're struggling with. For others, it might be ego. And you find it sickening, you find it disgusting that these thoughts keep surfacing in your mind. Really, what you're saying is, I'm experiencing symptoms, and I don't like my symptoms. I want to rid these symptoms. Let the disease be, I just don't want the symptoms. What you're asking for is something pretty dangerous. Because what you're saying is, I wish the symptoms didn't show up. Let the disease be there. I just wish that the symptoms didn't show up. So what you're saying is, let the disease be there. I just wish I didn't have a headache. I wish I didn't have a runny nose. I wish I didn't get a temperature. I'm alright with the disease, just don't want the symptoms. But you told me a moment ago, you'd rather get disease 1 versus disease 2. The first one you were okay with, because when the symptoms show, now you know you have a problem and therefore now you can treat it. Whereas if you couldn't spot the symptoms, how would you be able to treat it? This is why I say always, whenever we have new anagarikas who come to the monastery, right? This is what usually happens, okay? So they come first week, they're so eager. about nirvana, they want to ordain, right, and they want to really make this their life going forth and the practice, and they have an unsurmountable amount of respect towards the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha, and all the defilements that they have been cultivating in their lay lives have been suppressed, not eradicated, just suppressed, like a ball that's pressed under the water. For as long as you hold it down, it doesn't surface. And because they want this so much, they'll just keep it suppressed. The first week passes by, it's fine. The second week passes by, fine. By the third week, holding down that ball is becoming tedious. Just imagine, right? There's a ball filled with gas or some kind of air, and you're trying to hold it down under the water. You can't do that forever, because that is a very artificial and deliberate approach to trying to keep it underwater, submerged in water. The natural tendency is for it to resurface. So you're using force to suppress those emotions. That's pointless. So really, when we talk to them, the first time, second time, third time we talk to them, it appears like, hey, there's nothing wrong with them. Sometimes I sit down and talk with some of them and I wonder, dude, you should be advising me. You seem to be free of desire, free of aversion, and free of delusion. I seem to have more problems than you do. How about we switch roles? You advise me what I should be doing. But give it enough time, and all those defilements, they'll start to surface. Happens every time. This is why at this monastery we don't ordain the following day. You come today, I want to ordain, wait. First, discover who you are. Because right now, you've got a facade in front of you. You've got a mask. And sometimes you don't even know you're holding a mask. You go stand in front of the mirror, and you're seeing is the mask. You're not seeing the real you. Because this is all abhisankara. When you want something so badly, you will suppress what is natural and show a pretense. It's not something that anyone does deliberately. It's not something that anyone does through ill will. It's just very natural. It's like, remember when you first went out to see someone you wanted to propose to somebody, okay? When you went out to see someone who you liked for the first time, girlfriend, boyfriend, right? A partner. You know that that person was not the real you. The first time you approached that person, it was never the real you. You know how they say, no one is as pretty as they are on their Facebook picture, and no one is as ugly as they are on their identity card. You heard that? Yeah. None of these two aspects are real. What I see now, that's the real you. But what I see now, that's not how your profile picture will be on Facebook like. And what I see now will not be what you look like on your identity card. Because in both those situations, you're creating an image. You're portraying an image. You're projecting an image, depending on what the other person wants to see. So even when you might have gone to get into a relationship with someone, to sweet talk somebody, you will put on a face. That's not the real you. That's why they say never rush into relationships. Because given enough time, you will discover who the real person is. But for that, you need to allow time. Why time? Because it's abhisankara, you can't keep doing forever. It's going to get tiring. That's why they say give time for people to understand each other. Abhisankara you can't do forever, because it gets very tiring. How long can you act and pretend to be like an Arahant? How long can you pretend to be an Arahant? You can't do that forever. An Arahant, as he walks along the road, if there are noises, sounds that come from around him, he doesn't have a desire, he doesn't have a want or a need to turn his head and look around. If you're not an Arahant, you will want to. But you may not, because You want to pretend, you want to show that you're an Arahant. Sometimes people fall into this misbelief, this wrong belief that I'm an Arahant, and they pretend to be an Arahant. But given enough time, when they're not on guard, when they forget the fact that they're an Arahant, that can happen, right? You can forget the fact that you're an Arahant, and then all of a sudden you just turned your head and looked, oh, bugger. Again, because of pretenses. So what I'm trying to say is, just be yourself. There's no better place to start meditating than accepting who you are. That's why they say, when you go in front of the lawyer, when you go in front of your doctor, don't pretend to be someone you're not. When you go in front of your teacher, these three people, don't pretend to be someone you're not. Your lawyer, your doctor, and your teacher. Don't pretend to be someone you're not. Bad idea. If you pretend to be someone you're not in front of your lawyer, what's going to happen? When everything starts to come out in the courtroom, then you're in for big trouble. But at least if you can be completely honest with your lawyer, then he or she knows you inside out. Then he can help you. He or she can help you. But if things start to surface in the courtroom, then that's not a nice thing to happen. What about your doctor? You don't explain, you don't reveal all your symptoms. You're going to get treated for the wrong disease. Sometimes the meds you get will have side effects so severe that you're going to pick up something worse than you went in with. And then finally your teacher, particularly a teacher who is helping you to attain Nibbana. Don't pretend to be someone you're not. Just be yourself. In every sense of the word, just be yourself. It's a piece of advice I give to all our monks, all our Anagarikas at the monastery. Swaminatha says, please be yourself. Anagarikas, please be yourself. Don't pretend to be someone you're not. If you have feelings of sensual desire, then go and talk to your teacher about it. Don't hide it from your teacher, assuming that if my teacher finds out, I'm going to get a good telling off. No, that's wrong. If you are someone who has anger and that keeps bothering you, thoughts of ill will, thoughts of resentment, if they keep bothering you, then don't hide them. Because ultimately your teacher is also your doctor, but for the mind. Isn't it? And then thoughts of ego, don't hide them. For instance, say you have thoughts of ego, or you have egotistical thoughts about your teacher. Say perhaps you feel, why should I worship my teacher? He's also a man just like me. He's just like me, right? If you feel that way, go and tell about that to your teacher. Sir, I feel that you and I are equal. I don't feel like I should worship you. I don't feel like I should respect you. But I know that that's a problem with me. Please, can you help me? Be open and honest with your teacher. Just like you would with your doctor, just like you would with your lawyer. So now you're going to start to meditate. What I want you all to do is to, when you start your practice, folks, accept who you are. Don't try to pretend you are someone you're not. Or don't try to pretend you are someone who has no feelings of desire. Don't think that you're saints. I don't know if you are, but if you're not, then don't pretend to be a saint. Be okay with the fact that you have desire. Be okay with the fact that you have aversion. Be okay with the fact that you have thoughts of delusion. Because only when you are open and honest about them can you start tackling those problems. Don't think just because you've gone into a temple, just because you walked into a monastery, now you're expected to be someone you're not. That's not true. Don't think you're expected to be someone you're not. Certainly not in this room. Just in this room, be yourself. Be yourself, particularly with yourself. The last person you should be deceptive towards is yourself. Otherwise, how can you treat yourself? Right? So now, what I want you to do is, let's take a few moments to learn to accept who we are before we start treating ourselves. I want you to take a few moments to reflect on who you are, the kind of temperament that you have, your tendencies. At the moment you close your eyes, thoughts will start flooding into your mind. Thoughts of desire, thoughts of anger, thoughts of ego, right? And just be okay. Just observe them. Let them rush in, let them come in. If, for example, the first thought that comes to your mind is, hey, that flower arrangement, that looks beautiful. That's okay. Be aware of that. Just let it come in. Okay, so I see. So you find beauty in this flower arrangement, huh? All right. This is something you can tell yourself. Or you might say, you might have thoughts of anger. Say, perhaps on your way here on the bus, right? Someone said something that really upset you. Or you have a favorite seat on the bus and someone was sat there today. And you are not okay with that, but you've been keeping quiet about it. It's happened 1 or 2 days. And so when you get into the bus, you give the person a frown, but you keep walking and you go and find another seat. Now's the moment to accept that. Be okay with that. This is the pre-treatment room. Pre-treatment. This is where we diagnose the problem. Because when you're in diagnosis room, you have to be open and honest, upfront about the problem. You can't hide them. Now you will all know individually what your temperaments are, what your tendencies are. Whether you're a raga character, or a dvesha personality, or a moha personality. Don't you? You'll all know them. If you take enough time to reflect on it. In fact, if you're struggling with this, think back over the last week. Okay? Think over the last week and ask yourself, what were some of the thoughts that came into my mind more so than others? Did I find myself getting angry all the time over the course of the last 7 days? If you can't remember the last 7 days, maybe the last 3 days. Did I get angry more than perhaps become desirous about things? Or is sensual desire something that always keeps bothering me, something that keeps troubling me? Or whenever I talk with someone, do I feel this ego that always takes the better of me? Do I always feel like I'm better than you? Or I'm less than you? That is also problematic. Having feelings of superiority or inferiority, they're both problems. They're both ego problems. Ask yourself. And let's try to understand who we are before we start treating ourselves. Do you understand what I've asked you to do? Yeah? So, this is about accepting who we are, accepting that there are negative emotions and feelings that keep bothering me, and that's okay. First we have to find out what the problem is. And then I will show you how we can treat these problems. But denial, remember, is not simply a river in Egypt. Denial is going to be your biggest problem. If you don't accept who you are, you can't treat the problem. So first of all, let's take a few moments and understand who we are. This is a case of self-discovery. Let's discover who we are. All understand what I've asked you to do? Okay, let's do that for a few moments. And then once we've done that, we'll go on to the next step. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Were there any surprises? Or are you who you think you are? So do you have a raga personality trait, or a desha personality trait, or a moha personality trait, or a sleeping personality trait? I could see a few of those also. A sleepy personality trait. That's okay. Remember, we are here not to admonish. We are not here to fault you. It's simply to help you discover who you are, and then start working on the negatives and building on the positives. That's all it is. Just think about how you would help a young child. A young child who is naughty, mischievous, or as a teacher how you would help a student, or as a manager how you would help an employee. You help them what? Discover themselves first, right? Because otherwise it feels like things are being done unto you. That's not very effective. It's not easy to get someone to do something if they don't believe in it. It's very difficult. It's fighting a losing battle. Influential leaders have all become influential leaders because they were influential. In other words, they made us want to do something. And then it's not an uphill battle. It's easy when you can do that. They help us, they show us a vision. And when you have seen the vision, now you buy into the idea. Once you bought into the idea, now you want it just as much as they want it. When you want it, then it's easy. So this is why, even in the path to cleansing your mind of defilements, first you need to understand the kind of person you are. See, otherwise I could sit here and start talking to you about raga or kama, sensuality. If you're not a sensual character, if your defilements are more prone towards anger, then really you're not going to find a lot of use. So this is why the meditation sessions are really quite useful. Because this is very practical, this is very hands-on. The things that we have been talking about in the sermons, this is the time to apply them. And this is not the of course you should be doing them 24/7, but this is the time where we actually try and create a lab in this room whereby you start applying the Dhamma that we have been talking about. But for that, first you need to understand the kind of person you are. So hopefully you manage to do it, at least to some extent. So the first step of this journey is to discover the kind of person I am. Who am I? Am I someone who has strong feelings of desire? Am I someone who has strong feelings of aversion? Am I someone who has strong feelings of delusion? Hopefully you've been able to discover who you are. If that was a little bit difficult, perhaps it might have been for someone who just tried it out for the first time. If we went to ask your best friend about you, what might they say? Right, we went to your best friend and asked you, what do you think about this person? What might they say about you? Would they say that, oh, she She's very fond of fashion. She's a very fashionable person. She likes her fashion a lot. Or she likes to eat. She likes food. She likes interior decor. That's her favorite thing. She likes going, or he likes going clubbing. Or he likes music, right? Your best friend would know a lot about you, won't they? That's why you call them a best friend. They know a lot about you. So if I were to go and ask your best friend, or you were to go and ask your best friend, or someone else might go and ask your best friend about you, what might they say? The first few things that come to mind when they describe you is usually a good indication of the personality trait that you have. Because when you're with your best friend, you usually don't put up a false pretense. That's because once you've been with your best friend for long enough, that abhisankara of trying to suppress who you really are, that gets really tiring. And then it all it all surfaces, and then they get to see the real you. Would you not say your best friend knows you as you really are? Yeah? Your best friend knows you as you really are. If you are someone who gets angry, then your best friend knows this. If you are someone who is more into sensual desire, then your best friend knows this. The things you like, the things you don't like, your best friend knows this, right? And if you're someone who has a strong ego, again, your best friend would know this. So if you struggled with trying to identify who you are by yourself, then just think about what men say about you. Usually that's a good indicator. Okay, so now you've discovered who you are, the kind of personality trait that you possess. So let's get to work on it then. And remember, it all starts with accepting. I'm okay with who I am. I'm okay. Yes, raga is a problem, desha is a problem, moha is a problem, but I'm okay. In other words, I accept this is who I am. I'm okay. I can breathe. I'm okay. I can work with this. This is not an unsurmountable problem. I can work with this. It's okay. Let's say there's one among you who's a womanizer. I'm okay with that. I understand it's a problem, but it's not an unsurmountable problem. It's not a problem that cannot be fixed. I can work with that. Let's say there's someone among you who's a glutton for something. Cake. I say cake and your tummy goes grrrr. That's okay. Just be okay with that. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Or there's one among you who thinks, I'm better than all of these people. Look at me, I'm fine. I don't even fall asleep. Everyone else, they're all falling asleep the moment Swami Narayan says, start meditating. These idiots, they probably don't even listen to the sermons. Or there might be one among you who thinks, everyone else is so much better than me. You know, when they sit down for meditation, they meditate like yogis. But I can't do it at all. I fall asleep all the time. I can't focus my mind on anything. I'm going to struggle with this. I don't know why I'm even here in the first place. This is all ego. Either superiority complexes or inferiority complexes. Could go either way. But this is all to do with ego. So hopefully you have identified the kind of person you are. So here's what we do next. I want you all to take a moment. Now that you have all been listening to the Dhamma for some time and you have all been practicing the Dhamma, and I should know this because you do come and share your experiences with me, usually at the end of sermons. Swami Narayan, thanks to the sermons that we've been listening, our lives have changed. I'm not the kind of person I used to be. I was a lot more. I was infamous in my neighborhood, but now I'm more famous than infamous. Right? My neighbors are more willing and happy to see me than I used to be. My family is a lot happier with the kind of person I am. I used to get a lot more angry than this, but now I'm able to not get so angry. So what I want you to do now is convince yourself that this problem that we are trying to deal with, raga, dvesha, moha, is a problem that can be fixed. It's okay and it can be treated. You'll be surprised, folks, how much people think that these negative emotions, raga, dvesha, moha, that they have is, they're untreatable. You'll be surprised how some people have such a defeatist mentality. I'm never going to attain Nibbana. I can't do this. I'm never going to be able to do this. They start crying and weeping and break down in tears and I just can't do this, and then they give up even before they've started. What's the best evidence that this can be done? Which chapter in the Tripitaka is the best evidence that this can be done? First chapter, second chapter, or third chapter? No. The best evidence that this can be done is you have changed. Who you are today is not who you used to be yesterday. Who you are today is not who you used to be 6 months ago. I will vouch for that. Whether you have identified yourself as a raga personality or a dvesha personality or a moha personality, I can guarantee, and I think you'll all agree with me, those tendencies have now changed unimaginably from the person that used to be. Some of you may even struggle to recognize the person that used to be. If we were to video you, get you on video footage 6 months ago, right? In your best times and in the worst of times, and then show you the video, hey, look at you, this was you 6 months ago. I think some of you might struggle to come to terms with the fact that that was me. Please switch it off. Blech. That makes me sick to think that that was me. I feel like that every day. Who I was 6 months ago is not who I am today, folks. Who I was a year ago is not who I am today. That is the best evidence for me, certainly, that I can change. That is the best evidence for me that this problem of raga, dvesha, moha that I have is entirely curable. It's treatable. It can be fixed. It can be done. Arahanthhood, sainthood, is not a goal that cannot be achieved. It is well within our reach. It is well within your reach, each and every one of you. You can become an Arahant, madam. And so can you, madam. And so can you, Buddha. And so can you, sir. And so can you, Buddha. And you, madam. And you, madam. And you, sir. And you, sir. And you, madam. And you, madam. You can all. You all can. What's the best evidence? Just look at who you used to be. See, you have changed. Anyone who's willing to change can become an Arahant. Except for Arahants who used to be Arahant. Like, if they were an Arahant to begin with, then of course. But anyone who's willing to change, anyone who's willing to accept that this finger should always be pointing in this direction, can win this game. This is what? Willing to change, right? This. That's all that's saying is, I'm willing to change. Problems with me, and I'm willing to change. This is where we start off with Buddha Hanusati. So when I contemplate on the virtues of the Buddha, I can't even begin to imagine who the Buddha was. Because those virtues are, for me, I can't even comprehend. Arahant. Don't ask me what that is, I don't know. Buddha. Don't know. Sattha Deva Manussana. Previously, I have no idea. I don't know. They're just words to me. Because we are talking about something that is infinite. Ask me how much water there is in all the oceans. Give me a while, I'll give you the answer. But ask me how great is the qualities of the Buddha, I just can't imagine. I have to become a Buddha to answer that question. So I don't. However, I know that the Buddha's virtues are real, they are true, because I know I have changed. And it is his teaching that has helped me change. Nothing else. Nothing else. This is how I do my Buddhanusati. This is how I reflect on the great qualities of the Buddha, by identifying that I have changed, and through the change that I have experienced throughout the last 6 months, the last year, the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and so on, I know that these virtues are true, they're real. Becoming more benevolent, that can be done. Having right effort, that can be done. Becoming virtuous, yes, of course that can be done. Becoming kinder, that can be done. Becoming gentle, yes, of course that can be done. Compassion, of course that can be done. I didn't used to be as compassionate as I am now. I didn't used to be as kind as I am now. I didn't used to be as gentle as I am now. You should have seen me back then. I didn't used to be as calm and as cool as I am now. I have changed. And as I talk about myself, I'm sure you can all relate to this, how you have changed. Would you not agree with me? Have you not all changed? Of course you have. You probably can't even remember the last time you did one of the dasakusa. You probably can't even remember the last time you lied to someone. You probably can't even remember the last time you took something that didn't belong to you. You probably can't even remember the last time you said something to hurt someone's feelings. Just consider how much more of a gentle person you are today. Wow, how incredible that is. See, you have changed. You're such a soft character today. That's magnificent. Be proud about that. This pride is not about self, it's not ego, but esteem, self-esteem. And with conviction you know then that if I keep progressing on this path, well surely, if that guy is today this guy, then what about the guy you're going to see in a year's time from today? Can you imagine what you're going to be like in a year's time? I have no idea. I can't even imagine who I'm going to be in a year's time. If I keep on this path, folks, I can guarantee I'll be a much nicer person than I am today in a year's time. If you like to associate me today, I can tell you in a year's time, come back in a year's time. You won't want to leave. If you like to hang around me today, come back in a year's time. You won't want to leave. In a year's time, I won't want you all to leave. I'll want you all to stay here. Because you'll become so much more gentle than you are today. You'll become so much more amiable, so much more amicable than you are today. So much nicer, so much softer, so generous, so virtuous, so kind. Every word you say will be a word that only heals another person's wounded heart, wounded mind, not wound them, not injure them. Your words will become soft and tender, just like you have changed from the person you used to be. Now considering then, what I'm all going to ask you to do now is take a few moments to look back at the person you used to be. Go back into your past. Don't have to be that far back. For some of you, that change might have happened in the last month. Unimaginable transformation. For some of you, it might have happened in the last 3 months. Unimaginable. For some of you, it might have happened in the last 6 months, maybe in the last year. Go back to the time you can recall, the time you can remember, right? You see, remember I said, if you ask your friend, your best friend, to describe you, what would they say about you, right? What if you were to ask your friend 6 months ago, and then say, right, can you tell me about me today? The change that they're going to say. Have your friends not really said anything to you by now? You've changed so much. I can't imagine how much you've changed. How come you've changed so much? What is it you do? Are you on something? So you will be able to, it's great that both you and your children, your relations, your friends. See, the world is becoming a better place, right? Your world is becoming a better place. And that's not by changing the world. All you did was change yourself. All you did was turn this to this. And the world has become a better place. I wish Michael Jackson was around today, I could have told him. He said, heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and for everybody else. You should have started with yourself, sir. But you are all living evidence that the Dhamma works. You are all living evidence that the Buddha was around. That there was certainly this great being called a Supreme Buddha who preached this Dhamma. So I want you all now to take a few moments to go back to the person. Just, I can bring some buckets if anyone's going to throw up. Go back to reflect on the person you used to be. Okay? So I'm sure you won't fall asleep during this session. This will be like watching a horror movie. Right? Go back and reflect on the person you used to be and see who you are today. And then you will feel so joyful. You'll feel so glad, so happy. The happiness in your heart will be abundant. And I want you all to enjoy that. Because you deserve it. That joy you deserve. Because that is the joy that the Buddha speaks of when he talks about Priti Sambojjhanga. It's one of the 7 factors of enlightenment. Priti. Joy. The joy that comes from this internal transformation. From going, the transformation that has happened from being a person who had more raga, desha, moha to a person who has less raga, desha, moha. That transformation and the joy that comes with that is yours to keep. Enjoy it. Were you here yesterday at the sermon? Any of you? Priti Banis. Priti Banis. So if you come to the sermons, we give you cream buns. Right? In the break, we give you cream buns. So yesterday, in the morning sermon, I talked to you about how you can eat Priti Banis. Joy buns. Not cream buns, joy buns. You're all entitled to joy buns. Priti Banis. Look back into your past. Look at who you are today and enjoy that bliss. Let it flood into your heart. Enjoy it. Let's take a moment to do that. Once you experience that, ask yourself, how come I have changed so much? And it's not me, by the way, sir. This is why I say some of you come and say, Swami Nuhansi, you have changed my life, you have done this for me, you have done that for me, you always answer my questions. I say, no, that way. Keep going. See, that way. It's the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. I am not the Sangha, I only represent the Sangha. But the Mahasangha and the qualities of the Mahasangha, infinite. I am only just one tiny fish in this vast ocean that is the Mahasangha. I am a very small cog. So let's look back into the past, who we used to be, then contemplate on who you are today, and the delta, change, the difference. What was the reason? What was it that made that change? And that was the Dhamma. It wasn't me that has changed you. You changed yourself, folks. And I want you to give yourself credit for that. I don't sit there thinking, oh, Swami Nuhansi is great, Swami Nuhansi did this, Swami Nuhansi did that. No, Swami Nuhansi didn't do anything. Right? Swami Nuhansi said the same things to some people and they don't even come here today. Right? I didn't give any of you private lectures, did I? No. Whatever I've been saying to all of you. So how come some changed and some didn't? Where's the difference? Me? No. There, you. You're the difference. Because you are willing to change. It's not me who deserves credit for that. It's you who deserves credit for that. Others kept pointing their finger that way. They didn't want to change that. But what you did was, let's see. Let's try it. Oh, I get it now, I get it now, I get it now. You are willing to change. That was you, that was all you, all along. It was all you all along. Because one day you're going to be fine without a teacher. You should. Well, what happens if I die tomorrow? Then what are you going to do? You're all going to come with me? No, you have to learn to become independent. The Dhamma is our teacher. Once you have installed the Dhamma within your mind, within your consciousness, right, the Dhamma will keep guiding you. So Dhamma is your teacher, you are the student. The teacher doesn't need to change, you need to change. That's why Dharmayai, obey. Not this monk's name and obey. It's not like that. It's Dharmayai, obey. The Dhamma is always there as your teacher. Now you keep changing. According to the Dhamma, take instructions, change. Take instruction, change. Take instruction, change. Take instruction, change. Until you become one with the Dhamma. You become one with the Dhamma. What does that mean? What I mean by that? When you become one with the Dhamma, folks, then whatever Dhamma comes your way, that is who you are. You have no intention to change. There is no conflict. Whatever vipaka comes your way, you accept that. That is the nature of an Arahant. An Arahant is ready to accept whatever Dhamma that comes his way. When I mean by Dhamma, it's everything, right? This entire cosmos, that's all the Dhamma. Sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, that's all Dhamma. Vipakas of karmas, that's all Dhamma. When you mix water with water, what happens? Nothing happens. But if you add water to dyed water, then one makes a change to the other. There's always, when two different substances meet, there's going to be a change. But when the same substance meets another of the same substance, then there's no change. It's just more of the same stuff. So you're going to keep changing until you become one with the Dhamma. And then, that's it. Journey complete. Destination reached. Okay? So, I want you all to be convicted, to be self-evident that this Dhamma has changed you, and also that will be proof to you that the Dhamma can continue to change you until you can all go and achieve that final destination, that final goal of becoming Arahant. Your past will be proof of that. So let's all take a moment to contemplate on that and enjoy the bliss that comes from that, and attribute that bliss not to me but to yourselves, the Dhamma, the Buddha and the Sangha. It's not I who has made that change in your life. You have done so by using the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. Have you all understood what I've asked you to do now? Okay, so let's take a few moments to reflect on that. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Remaining the way you are, just imagine yourself as an Arahant. At some point in the near future,
Don't worry about when that day may come. Just imagine yourself as an Arahant. An Arahant who is free of all defilements. Who is free of all worry, all fear. Who is free of craving. Free of desire. Free of anger. Whose kindness knows no bounds. Whose gentleness is unimaginable. An Arahant who does not hurt others, who does not bring harm upon any living creature, for whatever reason. No matter what the circumstances, even when it is life and death, even when they are the stakes, an Arahant who does not hurt, who does not harm, who does not trouble or bother another living creature. This is you. Imagine yourself the Arahant who does not take anything that does not belong to you. Who lives entirely and completely content. Has no interest whatsoever in absolutely anything in this world. No interest to acquire it. No interest to go after it. No interest to pursue. An Arahant who has given up tiresome pursuits. This is you, the Arahant. One who only takes what is offered. And therefore, no one fears this Arahant. No creature fears their presence. Not a single soul fears or worries their association or being in their presence, knowing fully well that right beside me is a person who will never, no matter what the circumstances, will take something that belongs to me against my wish, against my liking. Therefore they are free of fear to be in your presence. This is you, the Arahant. Imagine you, the Arahant, in whom the fire of desire has been extinguished. The embers of sensual desire have been put out once and for all. You have no interest whatsoever to engage or indulge in sensuality. You no longer feel the need to scratch the rash of sensual desire because it is no longer present in you. You have been healed. You are free of all sensual desires. This is you, the Arahant. Just imagine that. Looking around you, you see lots and lots of people, lots and lots of beings who are still suffering, scratching themselves all over. They're all infected with the rash of sensual desire. But you are now free. You have freed yourself from the prisons of lust. This is why they call you an Arahant. You are free. You are no longer a slave to desire. Desire can no longer enslave you. You are now victorious. Lust can no longer enslave you. You are now victorious. You are free. You are free just as a bird in the vast sky. You are now an Arahant. This is you, the Arahant. You do not lie. False speech is not something that is even known to you. Every word that comes out of your mouth is nothing but the truth. Gone is the need to lie to save your skin, to save yourself. You are no longer a slave to falsehood. This is you, the Arahant. You are free. You can taste victory. You can taste absolute freedom. This is you, the Arahant. People no longer fear to trust you. Because there is no way that your trust can be broken. There is no way that their trust in you can be broken. Because you do not lie. Even when it is a case of life and death, you do not lie. Other beings adore you. They enjoy your presence. Everyone wants to be with you, be around you. Because never do you utter a word that hurts their feelings. The words that used to be pricky thorns are now soft petals. You have abandoned harsh words once and for all. The softness in your words is like an oasis to a man lost in a desert. They seek to be in your presence. People want to listen to you speak. They want to be around you. You are now an Arahant. You have abandoned harsh words. This is why they call you an Arahant. You have abandoned backstabbing. Breaking people up. Friends will walk up to you and walk away as friends. Enemies will walk up to you and walk away as friends. Every life you touch, every soul you touch, every heart you touch is pacified, is calmed, cooled, and placated. Humans, devas, brahmas, they all seek your companionship. They all seek your acquaintance. Because you are now an Arahant. Your words are like medicine to a wounded man. Healing, soothing. This is you, the Arahant. You have abandoned frivolous speech once and for all. You will only say what needs to be said, when it needs to be said. And it will only be the truth. At all other times, you observe silence. Silence comes naturally to you. This is you, the Arahant. You no longer need to engage and indulge in frivolous speech for the purpose of self-entertainment. because there is an abundance of joy that ruptures in your heart. The fountain of joy has erupted in your heart. Silence is absolute bliss. This is you, the Arahant. Every word that comes out of your mouth only does good to mankind. Every word that comes out of your mouth heals a wounded soul. It is not used to waste precious time, but to remind sentient beings to be earnest in their practice, to seek the salvation that you have sought, to guide the misguided, to show the path to those who are lost. Every word that you say is precious. This is because you are now an Arahant. Covetousness has been abandoned. Greed has been abandoned. Like the leaves falling off a tree in autumn, abandoned, never to be picked up again. Once the leaves are shed, they rot, decay and die. The tree has nothing to do with them thereafter. Just as so, you have abandoned greed. You have abandoned craving. You have abandoned covetousness. And you have nothing to do with them. You are now an Arahant. You do not look at others to see what it is they have, what they have got, and desire them. You do not look at what others have and wish that they were yours. Because now your understanding is perfected. You have understood that letting go is the only salvation. Not clinging. You have understood that detachment is the only salvation, not acquiring. You have understood that being freed is the only salvation, not being enslaved by material possessions. Everywhere you look, there are people who have made it their life's purpose to acquire, to be greedy, to be desirous, and to crave, to want more and more material things. But today, you understand that this is foolish. You understand that this is meaningless. You understand that this is not the path to perfect joy and bliss. Therefore you have abandoned covetousness, never to pick it up again. This is why they call you an Arahant. There is no room for anger and hatred in your heart. The fire of anger has been put out once and for all, extinguished, never to burn you again. Your mind is so free, so cool, so relaxed. Not all the world's problems can disturb you. So much calmness and coolness. There's nothing in this world that can take it away from you. This is why they call you an Arahant. People can say things to you, intending to hurt you. But those words fall by your ears like petals of a flower. They cannot disturb you. They cannot bother you. There is no room for malice in your heart. You're always happy. Always. You're never unhappy. Always happy. Always. The joy in your heart knows no bounds. Your heart could explode with the joy that is inside it. And the thoughts you have are always those of compassion. How could I heal another soul? How could I pass on this joy to someone else? How could I help these worldly beings who create their own suffering? How might I help them? How might I help them appease themselves? Even when someone comes at you, flared up, blaring with scornful words, spiteful words, the only thought that comes to your mind is, how can I pass on the joy, the abundance of joy in my heart to this poor man? Infinite compassion. Every life you touch is healed. Every fire you touch is extinguished. Every heart you touch is healed. This is you, the Arahant. You reflect upon yourself. I didn't used to be like this, but I am now very different. I was a slave to desire, aversion and delusion, but no more, and never again will I be. I am free. You are so free, you are so happy, you can't hide the happiness in your heart. The joy in your heart radiates around you. It is like a magnet for other wounded souls. You have changed. You are now an Arahant. You are now a child of the Buddha, a son of the Buddha, a daughter of the Buddha. He is your father, and he is your mother. He has healed you. Having cradled you in his hands, in his arms, having fed you the milk of Dhamma, you have been healed. The blaring fires of raga, dvesha and moha that once burned you from the inside can do that to you no more. Boundless joy raptures you. It enwraps you. You are now an Arahant. The Dhamma has healed you. You have been protected by the Mahasangha, the great elders Sariputta, Mahamoggallana, Mahakashyapa, Ananda, Nanda, Rahula, Bhadrakachayana, Mahaprajapati. It is they who have protected you. It is they who sheltered you, who guided you, who helped you find solace, who healed you, who cured you. And for that, you are eternally grateful. All you want to do now is pass on that joy to every man, every being, every woman and every child that comes into your life. Letting go is the only salvation. May I and all beings in all worlds let go. Being detached is the only salvation. May I and all beings in all worlds be detached. Being freed is the only salvation. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed. These are the only thoughts that come into your mind. Your existence now is for the purpose of healing a wounded soul. Because you are now an Arahant. Experience the joy. Experience the liberation that has come to you. The freedom that has engulfed you. Every thought that comes into your mind are thoughts of compassion, of metta, loving kindness towards all beings. You are now an Arahant. Let yourself experience that joy. The joy that comes with letting go. The joy that comes with detachment. Being freed. Not a single thing can worry you. Nothing in this world can trouble you. Nothing in this world can bother you. Nothing in this world can take away the peace of mind that you enjoy today. You are now an Arahant. Ultimate freedom. Ultimate bliss. Ultimate joy. The gratitude towards the Buddha is unimaginable. The gratitude in your heart towards the Dhamma is unimaginable. The gratitude in your heart towards the Mahasangha cannot be compassed. Unimaginable. You are freed. The shackles that kept you bound to samsara for an infinitely long time in samsara have once and for all been unshackled. They are broken. They can no longer keep you tied down to samsara. You are free. Free to go wherever you like. Experience that joy. The joy of being an Arahant. Etam santam etam panitam yadidam sabba sankara samato Sabbupadipati Nisango Tanhakayo Virago Nirodho Nibbananti. Kinam Puranam Navannati Sambhavam Viratta Citta Ayatike Bhavasmin Tekina bija avirul hichanda nibbanti dhira yathayam padipo nibbanti dhira yathayam padipo nibbanti dhira yathayam padipo. Having extinguished all desire, having extinguished all aversion, having extinguished all delusion, having extinguished these fires which have kept burning me, torturing me, excruciating me from the beginning of samsara, I am now free. I am free of all suffering. I am free of all attachments. I am free of all slavery. I can now pass away into parinibbana, just like the flame of an oil lamp is blown away into nothingness. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. You are all entitled to this joy. Joy that knows no bounds. It's yours to take. Bliss that knows no bounds. Freedom that knows no bounds. Infinite freedom. Infinite joy and infinite bliss. You are entitled to it, each and every one of you. The Buddha came into this world for you, madam, and for you, sir. For you, sir. For you, sir. For you, Buddha. He came into this world to give us all this gift. Take it. It's yours to take. The only thing between you and your freedom is you. Nothing else. He put himself through all that to give us this. You could not have experienced that joy by watching a movie. You cannot experience that joy by going to a 10-star restaurant and eating all that they can offer you. You can't experience that joy. This is unconditional bliss. Unconditional. This is not bliss where if this and this works out, then I'm happy. It's not like that. This is I don't care what, I'm happy. Where else can you get this? Only in the Buddha Shasana. Tell me you're not lucky. Tell me you're not fortunate. Tell me the Buddha Shasana is not the best gift you have ever received. And we are all entitled to it. free. Take it, folks, take it, take it, take it, take it, take it. It's all for taking. Take it. And nothing expected in return. It's yours to keep. Nothing expected in return. Nothing. Nothing whatsoever. Nothing at all. It's yours to take. Make it your life's purpose to achieve this bliss. All the worries, all the troubles that keep you bound, that give you sleepless nights, it's unnecessary. You don't need to go through that. Let other people who haven't found this gift, let them take them. It's not for you. Happiness is for you. Bliss is for you. That is what this Father has given us all. The great Father. The greatest Father. And all you have to do is first identify the problem. Be sensitive to the raga, dvesha, moha that come into your mind. Be aware of them. And then use the Dhamma to treat yourself. See, I have been asking you to do 15 minutes every day. I don't know how many of you have been doing it, but for those of you who have, this is what I've been talking about. Once you've done this, you don't need psychedelics. Once you experience this, you don't need LSDs. This is bliss on steroids. This is joy on steroids. How much? Free. Contraband? No. Free. The bliss of letting go, there is no bliss that exceeds that. The bliss of detachment, there is nothing that goes beyond that. The bliss of freedom, there's nothing above and beyond that. And you are all entitled to it. All you have to do is treat raga, dvesha, moha. Starts with pointing the finger towards you. Accepting, yes, I have these problems. Problems not out there, problems with me. Because for as long as you keep pointing that finger outwards, folks, you can't enjoy this bliss. What you're sacrificing to preserve your ego is not worth it. When you have this to take, someone shouts at you, you say, hey, what are you sacrificing? This bliss. For what? Your ego. It's not worth it. Let go. Point that stupid finger this way. Here's a rotten idiot. Not that way, this way. Fix this bugger. Everything's fine then. I'm going to talk to you about Asubhanusati for a few moments. So you can continue this practice. See, now you know what joy awaits you. Now you know what bliss awaits you. What I ask you to do there is to imagine. Now imagine what it must be like when you really hit it. When you don't have to imagine it, when it's a real thing. This is like I asked you to imagine Christmas. Imagining Christmas is one, but when it's the 25th of December, it's another thing altogether. I asked you to imagine what the Arahanthhood is like, sainthood is like, where the mind is free of desire, aversion, delusions like. Now what happens the day you really experience it? What must that be like? So we can get there, we can all get there. And there's a clear path. There's a clear path towards that goal. Asubhanusati starts there. I don't need to talk to you a lot about Marananusati because I have spoken about that plenty times. You all know how diligent you have to be with your practice, and I think you all know that, so I don't need to talk to you about it in great detail. You all know the value of life. We've spoken about that. People say time is money, but you know how flawed that statement is, right? You can give money and buy time, but you can't give time and buy money. So they're not the same thing. So you know that. So I don't need to talk a lot about that. But Asubhahanusati. Now at the start of this program, I asked you all to identify what your personality trait is. Let's revisit that. I asked you to look back into the past week and look into the events which occurred during the past week and how you responded, because those responses will help you determine what sort of personality trait you are. I also asked you, if you were to go and ask your best friend, what would you say about me? What they might say. That will help you determine, that will help you figure out what kind of personality trait you are. Now here's what we do with that. This is really where we come to terms with identifying that the finger is really should really be pointing this way. This is what Asubhahanusati is. Up until now, we've been pointing it that way because we've been saying, I wanted something, I didn't have it, so I need to now go and get it. See? What do we use this for? Give it to me. When you say give it to me, when you don't have something, you want, give it to me. Hey, give it to me. You can't do it like this, right? No, it's like this, pointing outwards and then give it to me. Otherwise, either this or this. But with Asubhahanusati, we look internally. Turn the camera lens the other way. Look inside. What I want you all to do now is to take a moment and to link back that personality trait of yours to wanting. Trace the path back to how it is you wanting something, which is the disease as a result of which you are now experiencing the symptom of raga, dvesha and moha. As an example, your feeling of raga could be, let's say, you like flowers. So whenever you see flowers, you feel joy. This is raga. Whenever you have your favorite dish laid out in front of you, you feel joy. This is not the same joy we talked about a moment ago. That's a very different kind of joy. This is worldly, that was supramundane, outworldly, lokottara. This is laukika joy. This is raga. Or it may be that when you listen to music, watch a movie, go out with someone, right? Various things. It's different for all of you. Perfume, whatever. Concerts, classical music, rock music for others. It's different for everyone. Games, cricket, whatever. You experience this joy because you know now this is pleasure. This is a sensation of pleasure. And the only way one can experience pleasure is when one is relieved from vexation. So really, pleasure is overrated. It's not the real thing. It's fake. Pleasure is simply the reduction of pain. When pain goes down to zero, you can no longer experience pleasure. For as long as pain is within the parameters of zero and whatever number, that is when you can actually experience pleasure. The moment it hits zero, you can no longer experience pleasure. So that goes to show that pleasure is overrated. So this sensation of raga is a fake joy. It's not real, it's fake. Real joy, I talked to you about a moment ago. You are sacrificing that for this. That's mad. Because remember, this joy is conditional. I want it, got it. Yay. Happy. Take it away? Unhappy. You have exposed yourself to turning your smiley upside down. Keeps flicking. Right? You get what you want, goes that way. Take away what you want, goes that way. Give it back, goes this way. Take it back, goes this way. See? You have subject yourself to this fluctuation. You have allowed the world to decide when you're happy and when you're sad. When you feel raga, when you feel dvesha, you have allowed the world to determine that, as in people who live around you. Events, naturally, could be natural events. In other words, you have become a slave to the world. So this raga, the sensation of pleasure during raga is fake, it's overrated. So therefore what I want you to do is link it back to the problem. So if you imagine, I'm trying to visualize this, help you visualize this. You experience joy, pleasure somewhere up here. This is nothing other than relief from a vexation that was down here. Why do I say down here? Because of course vexation is a negative thing. Right? You couldn't do it the other way. Vexation and then pleasure. It doesn't work like that. So pleasure up here, vexation down here. Relief from vexation is what brought you pleasure. Relief from suffering. But that's the only path to pleasure. This is the only path to raga. Relief from not having what you want. That was a very negative emotional state. Suffering. Or dvesha. Now if you link it back, now we go this way, sideways. It's a case of you wanted something. I wanted X. Didn't have it. Did something to find it. Now I feel pleasure. Say this is the only path. That's the only path. You can't go this way. It doesn't work like that. That doesn't bring you pleasure. Want it, have it, doesn't work like that. Want it, don't have it, now got it. That's pleasure. Because you have to be in suffering first. The vexation has to have kicked in first, and then relief from that is what brought you pleasure. So here's what I want you to do. Recognize that pleasure is overrated. Recognize the raga that you experience, the pleasure, the joy of raga that you experience is not worth it. It's asarai, essenceless, it's meaningless. When you have something that is much, much, much more joyful, why sacrifice that for something that is meaningless? That's like giving real money and asking for monopoly money. How mad is that? What's the exchange rate between dollars and monopoly money? Come on, tell me. What's the exchange rate? Real dollars versus monopoly dollars. Even the question is nonsensical, right? So why do you exchange real bliss for fake bliss? What's the exchange rate? When is it worth it? It's not worth it. But for as long as you don't see the connection here, that it was wanting something that put you in a state of vexation, and not having it that put you into a state of suffering, and then relief from that suffering that brought you pleasure, until you are able to accept that this is what's going on, until you see the logic behind it, and until you internalize this, you're going to keep wanting that pleasure. You're going to keep wanting to experience that meaningless pleasure, because the veil of ignorance has covered your insight, has blinded you. So what I'm asking you to do when you do Asubhanusatya is unveil the truth. Move the curtain out of the way. Take it away. Now see what's actually going on. So, in the past week, as I said, when I asked you to ask yourself what kind of person you are, you will have been reminded of events, right? Certain things that might have happened. Where you thought, okay, Swaminathan, I saw that cake, I wanted to eat it, I had it, and then I felt pleasure. Okay, good. What I'm asking you to do now is link it back to wanting. See the path. Trace it back. Like a breadcrumb trail. You know Hansel and Gretel, you read the story? Yeah? What I want you to do now is trace the breadcrumb trail back to wanting. I wanted it, then I didn't have it, then I did abhisankara to get it. That's when I experienced pleasure. Ain't worth it. Abhisankara wasn't pleasurable, otherwise you'd be doing it all the time. I mean, come on, this is pleasurable, is it not? When you fan yourself when it's hot, Right? So why don't you all just keep doing like this all day? That should be fun. Just keep doing like this all day, every day, 24/7. Is this fun? No. But when you're feeling hot and you fan yourself, now you think it's worth it. But you only have to keep doing this because you're feeling hot in the first place. You have a face, you have a body that gets warmed up. So that's the problem. That's the problem. Wanting is the problem. So to see that wanting is the problem, you need to trace it back to wanting. Trace it back to the root cause. And then ask yourself, why did I want it? I wanted it because I was attached to it. Where did the attachment come in? That's because of avidya. Nitya sukha atta, ashvada sapasara, pleasurable, joyful and essential. Having been indoctrinated with this view, mithya ditti, that something is pleasurable, the moment someone said this to us, we went into that, we took on board that view, we accepted it. Why? Ignorance led us to accept it. We didn't stop to question, how is it that this is pleasure? We didn't stop to question it. So we took it at face value, accepted it without questioning. Took that view on board, as a result of which we were attached to it. With attachment came the wanting. And then with the wanting, now you went into suffering because of not having it. And then through abhisankara, relieved yourself of suffering, and this is the pleasure that you experience. Do you see the meaninglessness of it? How futile it is? Pointless. Because really, if it was the cake didn't bring you pleasure. Relief from vexation brought you pleasure. Cake didn't bring you pleasure. Relief from vexation brought you pleasure. If it was watching a movie, there may be those among you who really enjoy watching movies. I was like that. Every weekend I'd sit in front of the TV and I could be there for hours. Friday night I could get up Sunday morning. I wouldn't mind. I didn't mind that. I could watch movie after movie after movie. It was movie marathon on some weekends. Especially if a long weekend would come along. I wouldn't mind. Order some takeaway, right? And then the food keeps coming. Keep watching. But I now realize what I used to do. I used to go on IMDb, type in the name of the movie, find out what rating it is. Rotten Tomatoes, right? You've all done this. Come on. Right? Go on these sites, find out what rating it is, and then they say, it's the best movie, you must watch. Steven Spielberg, this Berg, that Berg, right? All Bergs. And we get Hamburg, and then now it's being rated highly. I of course want to watch it now. Why? What did those ratings say? Ashvada sapasara. It's pleasurable. You have to watch it. Must watch. That was how the vexation was created within our minds because of ignorance. We were ignorant. Therefore, we took upon whatever was said to us. Didn't stop to question. You wouldn't even take money like that. Right? When you go to a shop, excuse me, someone gives you some money. Don't you, at least when you take it, don't you feel it to see if this is real or fake money? Don't you? Yes, of course. Just in case you get fake money. So you check your money before you put it into your wallet. So why don't you check the sense, if there's sense in what people tell you before you take it on board? Because fake money can make you go bankrupt. A wrong view can do what? Can put you in samsara. Which one's worse off? Wrong view. So we don't stop to question. We just take it on board. So link it back to desire. And then link it back to wanting, wanting back to attachment, and attachment back to ashvada sapasara, this view of pleasurable, joyful and essentialness. This is asubhanusatya. And then there might have been those among you for whom anger is the problem. That's what keeps you up at night. Anger. Right? Whenever you are in a conversation, you are prone to get into a conflict. Perhaps some of you might have trouble at home, right? Relationship problems because you're always angry. Husband, wife, not a happy relationship, maybe. Maybe parents, children, not a happy relationship, always arguments at home, fights. Maybe. All types of people come here. But that's okay. This is what I said. At the beginning I said, accept who you are. That's fine. Angulimala also came into this shasana. He came in with a problem. He got treated. And then he passed away, free of problems, healed. So can you all. So if anger is your problem, again I want you to link it back to wanting. Right? You want to set the alarm at 6 o'clock. Every day you do it, but your husband changes it to 5:30. Now you've been telling him, don't do that. Oh, it's the toilet seat. My favorite example, toilet seat. I'm not kidding by you. I've told you this, right? How people have broken up relationships. People got divorced because they couldn't decide which way the toilet seat ought to be, up or down. So, I want the toilet seat down. See, again, I want it to be down. Whenever you want to find the problem, make up a sentence with the word want in it. Now you got the problem. Let me give you a statement, you tell me what the problem is, okay? It's raining. What's the problem? Make a sentence with the word want in it. It's raining. What's the problem? Yeah, I want it to be sunny. That's the problem. The clothes are all wet. What's the problem? I want them to be dry. That's all you have to do. Just make up the sentence with the word want in it. Like, did we not do this for grammar at school? Make a sentence with the word from in it. Or he or she. You know, when we use pronouns. Learn pronouns. We practice this at school, right? So I'm asking you to do something really, really simple. Just make a sentence with the word want in it. Okay. So I'm going to bring you a complaint. You tell me what my problem is. Okay? All on board with what I'm asking you to do? It's hot in here. I want it to be cold. That's the problem. I've got grey hair. What's the problem? I want black hair, dark hair. That's the problem. I'm bald-headed. I want hair. That's the problem. I'm talking about myself, by the way. It's Monday. I want it to be? Oh, you know this, right? Okay. You played this game before then, I see. You want it to be Friday, huh? Are you getting the gist of this? I want it to be sweet. Oh no, sorry, that's your part. It's bitter. I want it to be sweet. That's the problem. Stop talking to me like that. Stop shouting at me. What's the problem? I want you to talk to me nicely. That's the problem. This is what I'm saying, folks. Link the problem back to wanting. Because when you say, stop shouting at me, which way are you pointing the finger? When you say, I want you to talk to me nicely, now which way are you pointing the finger? Inwards. See, the wanting is not something out there, it's with me. But not doing what I want, that's out there. It's raining, which way am I pointing the finger? What did you say the problem was? I want it to be sunny. Now which way is the problem? This way. See? It stinks in here. What's the problem? I want it to smell nice. It stinks. Which way am I pointing the finger? Outwards. I want it to smell nice. Now? Inwards. These are things that could make someone angry, right? When the sight, sound, smells, taste and touch that come to you are not the things that you want, that's when you sense anger. That's when you feel animosity, conflict, and confrontation. These feelings arise in your mind when you don't get what you want. So rather than try to fix the outside world, how about let's fix ourselves? I don't like the way you talk to me. So who's going to change? I am going to change. Hopefully you've taken on board these lessons. Hey, I don't like the way you talk. So I'm going to change. What do I mean by this? I don't like the way you talk. What's the problem? I want you to talk nicely. So who's going to change now? I'm going to change. You keep talking however you want. I'm just going to stop wanting you to talk to me nicely. Problem solved. This is marriage counseling at its best. Why try to change your partner? Change yourself. See, here's my logic, okay? When a husband or a wife speaks to their spouse and say, hey, this is not working now. You got to change. Okay? You're asking the other person to change because you're finding it's difficult for you to change. Agreed? It's difficult for you to change, therefore you're asking the other person to change. From their perspective, what are you asking them to do? Change themselves. Well, if it's so easy to do, how about you change yourself? What you're telling is, you change. You're asking the other person to change themselves. If that's so easy to do, then just change yourself. Are you not really setting an example, a bad example? What you're saying is, you know what, I can't change. Right? Let's start there. I can't change. Let's just make that clear. I can't change. But I want you to change. What do you think he's going to be thinking? You can't change, and you want me to change. So you're asking me to do something that you can't do. Is that not so unfair? Why do we ask other people to do things that we can't do? See, this is the best marriage counseling I can give. This is the best kind of relationship counseling I can give to anybody. Change yourself. Don't try to change the other person. How many people can you go changing? There are 8 billion of them out there. You, one. Change yourself. So to change yourself, you've got to link it back to wanting. Find out the real problem. What about if it's delusion? Ego. How do we link that back to wanting? So here's how. Ego can come, I said, it can come in 3 forms. But 2 are more obvious than the other. So there's Sayyamana, Sadhisamana and Heenamana. Sayyamana is a superiority complex. Heenamana is inferiority complex. And Sadhisamana is, I don't know what the complex name is for that, but it's like when you feel I and the other are the same. We are equals. I mean, generally speaking, what the world believes in is that it's okay. That's how you should feel. We are all equals. But in Buddhist philosophy, even that is wrong. Because again, you're comparing, right? You and I are equals. So I have measured myself, I'm measuring you, now it looks like we're both the same. In Buddhist philosophy, even that is flawed. So that also has to be eradicated. Perhaps that's why there's no word for a complex for that, because that's just normal. Or maybe there is a word for it. I don't know if any of you know it, then please share with me. So anyway, how do we deal with this? The way to deal with this is again link it back to wanting. But how? Let's say I feel superior to all of you. Okay? I feel superior to all of you. And the reason I feel that is because there's something that I want, which I have, but none of you do. I have it, but you haven't got it. So let's say I'm richer than all of you. I'm more wealthy. I'm a billionaire. You're all millionaires. Okay? So I'm entitled to feel superior, aren't I? I'm a billionaire. You're all millionaires. So I have something that I want. None of you have it. So I'm bigger than you. I'm better than you. Link it back to wanting. What about inferiority complex? Again, there is something I want. You all have it. I just don't. You're all billionaires. I'm a millionaire. Now what happens? You have something I want.
again link it back to wanting. And then find out, why did I want it in the first place? Attachment. I'm attached to it, that's why I want it. Why am I attached to it? Because that is what is pleasurable, joyful and essenceful. So being a billionaire is overrated. Our associations made us believe that being a billionaire is what can bring us happiness. But we know now that is untrue. A moment ago you experienced that really detachment, letting go and freedom is the only true bliss. Detachment to what? Everything. Except billionaire. That's okay. No. Everything, including existence. That's how an Arahant is born. When they have given up, let go everything, and ultimately the only thing that's left is their existence. Being alive, just being. Attached to being. When that itself is eradicated, then attached to nothing. Attached to nothing. So link it back to wanting. And once you've linked it back to wanting, ask yourself, why do I want it? I want it because my associations with others have given it a special place in my heart. You'll all know growing up, right? You'll all have had different ambitions. Some of you grew up wanting to become doctors. Some of you grew up wanting to become businessmen, businesswomen. Some of you grew up wanting to become a police officer. Some of you grew up wanting to become artists. Some of you grew up wanting to become teachers. Others grew up wanting to become lawyers and engineers, right? Why? Is that not because of the people you associated? Because they gave you ambitions. They said, Buddha, if someone asks you what you want to be, say you want to be a doctor. You want to be what? Doctor. Do what? Alright, okay. The poor guy didn't even know what a doctor was. He said, I want to be doctor. No, not doctor. Doctor. That's how it worked. That's how it happened. I wanted to be a doctor. I did. In my younger years, I wanted to become a doctor. I didn't know what the hell a doctor was. That's when I went and worked in the nursing home. Took some experience. Then I went and worked in a hospital, shadowing a few doctors. And then I realized, hey, I don't want to be a doctor. See, I wanted to become one, not knowing what a doctor was. That's my story. The day I realized what doctors have to go through, what did I sign up for? This is not what I want. But all those ambitions, they were planted in my mind because of the associations that I had and the people I associated. My father, my mother, they were in the medical profession. So they always kept saying, Buddha, become a doctor, become a doctor, become a doctor, become a doctor, become a doctor. Doctors do this, doctors do that, doctors are great. So doctor. And before I knew it, I wanted to become a doctor. Well, thinking about it, I'm actually a doctor today, just a different kind of doctor. So ambitions aren't all that bad. I don't think they expected this when they said, Buddha, become a doctor. But hey, they'll have to do with this. But I think today I'm a better doctor than any doctor I could have become. You can all be like that. Right? So anyway, link it back to wanting. And then ask yourself, why did I want it? It's because of the associations that we had and the indoctrinations that we received from the outside. Asatpurusha sevane. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's take a few moments. And now, at the beginning, you decided and you worked out whether you have a raga personality, dvesha or moha personality, and that will be based on experiences you have had in the recent times, right? I want you to take one or two of those things and link it back to wanting and ask yourself, why did I want it in the first place? So ultimately, the purpose of this activity is to help you understand that whether it's raga, dvesha or moha, they're all symptoms. They're all symptoms of the disease that is wanting. The disease of wanting manifests these symptoms, raga, dvesha and moha. And through which understanding you will begin to realize that these are not effects that come from the outside world. You don't feel raga for an outside world object. You don't feel dvesha for an outside world object or because of an outside world object. You don't feel moha because of an outside worldly experience or object. They are wholly internal. Wanting was the root of this,
and it's a manifestation of that as a result of which you experience this. So again, what I'm trying to help you understand with this exercise is this pointing this way is wrong. Always point it this way. Make sense? Okay, let's try that for a few moments. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay. So this is what you need to practice. Practice pointing the finger inwards, because that is the only way you can be freed. Remember, it's you who is, you're what keeps you bound to samsara. You are the bridge that binds you to samsara. That's it. No one else is keeping you here. You're here. Just like you being in this room right now. Am I keeping you here? Am I? No. You're free to stand up and leave whenever you wish. So if this room is samsara, then just like that, you're free to stand up and leave whenever you wish. But the problem is, you experience pleasure. And you're blind to how pleasure comes your way. Because you have experienced pleasure for a long time in samsara. There's still ignorance which keeps telling you that, no, there's fun to be had here, so why should I leave? So the day your view is rectified in its entirety, I will not need to beg of you, I will not need to ask you to leave. You will leave on your own will. You won't hang around a second, a moment. You will leave immediately. Some are closer to the door than others. Actually, looks like I'm the one who's furthest away from it. So I need to take a lesson from you. Oh, well done you, madam. But those who are closer to the door should help those who are further away from it, shouldn't they? That's how this works. That's how it works. But remember that we are all here out of choice. We have a choice. We can either stay or we can go. It's our choice. No one's responsible for your suffering. You and you and you and you alone are responsible for your suffering. Make it a habit, make it a practice to try and make those sentences with the word want in it. Try and practice that. Then you'll always find the problem. The problem that can be fixed. Point your finger out. When are you going to fix it? That's what you've been doing your entire life, trying to fix the outside problem. How long? Never going to end. It's never ending. But try to fix the problem inside. That's it. Jobs are good. That's what we need to do. So practice that at home. And if you have been doing your 15 minutes, then well done you. Good pat on the back. But if you haven't, then this is what you're losing out on. This is what you're missing out on. The joy, the bliss that comes with letting go and detachment. This is what you're missing out on. What a shame. When it's all available for you for taking. It's available for your taking. Just take it. All you have to do is do it. The fruits are reserved for those who sow. That's the way the world works. It's only reserved for those who sow. Fruits are reserved for those who labor. If you don't sow, if you don't labor, then whose fault is that? Is it the fruit's fault? No, it's your fault. I want you all to feel empowered. No one is keeping you here. You are here out of your own will. That should empower you. Because now you will understand that I can do something about it. You're not dependent on anyone else. Your teacher will help you. Your teacher will guide you, provided you have that guidance, provided you have that direction. What else do you need? You're a human being, folks. What else do you need? There's a dog that keeps coming to the monastery. Keep chasing it and it keeps coming back. It's never going to be able to do this. Certainly not at least until it becomes a human being. But look at you guys. You have got everything you need and more. You're not just human, understand that. You're not just human. You're human. You've got the Dhamma. You can understand what is being said. Right? Chances are you're all three Hetuka Pratisandhilabhis. I can't imagine how one who is not will be coming here. And we're talking about core Nibbana-centric principles. For one who is not a Trihetuka Pratisandhilabhi, we won't be able to understand this. They will be like, what the hell is he talking about? Wanting problem? How can that be a problem? They won't be able to understand this. They won't be able to comprehend what it is I'm saying. So I can't imagine how any of you could not be a Trihetuka Pratisandhilabhi. So you've got everything and more. What's left is for you to do it, and you can all do it. Each and every one of you can. I will vouch for it. If you do it, you will reap the results. That is a guarantee. Cast iron. Do it. Just do it. Just do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it and do it again. Until. So now today we have we started off with Buddhanusati. I didn't talk a lot about Marananusati, but that's because we've talked about it a lot. The Adinava, Sanya and so on. Okay? Then we went on to Asubhanusati, and finally we move on to Mettanusati, which we can do with the Arya Maitri as we do normally to close the program. So here's what I want you to contemplate though. Remember, this is not just me reading out a sheet or chanting a verse, stanzas. This is not that. What I need you to all to understand now, having done what we've been doing for the last 2 or 3 hours, is to realize and reflect on this, and that is, the joy that awaits you is yours for the taking, right? You'll all accept that and agree? I'm not holding you back from it. Would you agree on that? No one else is holding you back. It's yours for taking. Okay? The only thing that's keeping you from it is Raga, Dvesha, Moha. Your attachments to samsara. So really, the only thing that's keeping you from enjoying the bliss that awaits you is your attachment to existence, to Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, if you want to see it that way. Sight, sound, smell, taste and touch, if you want to see it that way. Worldly objects and things and beings and events, if you want to see it that way. Whatever makes sense to you. So really, you're suffering out of your own will. Everyone else is suffering out of their own will. We don't inflict suffering on anybody else. Remember, I'm not talking about physical. I'm talking about mental suffering. Right? Hopefully I don't need to keep reminding that. We don't inflict suffering on anybody else. We inflict suffering upon ourselves. So that being the case, do you see today, having listened to what we've been talking about and having practiced this, you are all free to liberate yourselves? Who else in this room do you need for that? Nobody. If you've got the Buddha, if you've got the Sangha, if you've got the Dhamma and the Sangha, the noble triple gem to guide you, protect you and lead you, that's all you need. Dharmai, Obai, that's all. The Dhamma and you, that's all you need. Nobody else. So, just as much as the Dhamma has helped you transform your life, just as much as the Dhamma has helped you liberate yourselves, free yourself, detach yourself, and to that amount, to that extent bring you joy and bliss and happiness, may the same joy, bliss and happiness be afforded to all other sentient beings. Remember, all sentient beings are suffering unnecessarily. You don't have to suffer. It's a choice. They just don't realize it. No one has to suffer. People are suffering. Your parents are suffering, are they not? Your siblings are suffering, are they not? Your children are suffering, are they not? Your spouses are suffering, are they not? Your colleagues are suffering, are they not? Your best friend is suffering right now, isn't he? Is he or she not? They're all suffering. Why? Whose fault? Their own. They just simply have been making the wrong choices. That's all it is. Today you know this. Therefore today you feel empowered. I can do this. I can certainly do this because no one else is holding me back. So what we need to do now is let's pray. Don't take this pray in the sense of other religions. This is not that. This is a resolve really, more than a prayer. This is a resolve. This is compassionate thoughts. Expression of compassion towards all sentient beings. May the same way that I have found my liberation, I have been empowered, may all other beings also feel empowered. May they realize that they can all also find their own salvation through understanding the Dhamma. So with that in mind, let us reflect on the Maitreya. Remind me, madam, is it English or Sinhala today? English? Okay. So as we go through this, what I want you to do is to spread that loving kindness, spread that compassion to all sentient beings, and let us resolve and determine that may they all be empowered, may they realize that they can all achieve their salvation, and it's only them who are keeping them bound to samsara. It is they who are creating their own suffering and nobody else. So may they find that bliss, may they find the happiness. Okay. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fire of birth, freed from the fire of decay, freed from the fire of illness, freed from the fire of death, freed from the fire of sorrow, freed from the fire of lamentation, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fire of suffering, freed from the fire of discontentment, freed from the fire of exhaustion, freed from the fire of disappointment, freed from the fire of clinging on to the five aggregates, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the suffering of samsara, freed from the disease of samsara, freed from the fear of samsara, freed from the fire of samsara, freed from the flames of samsara, freed from the sorrow of samsara, freed from the lust of samsara, freed from the clutches of samsara, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. The karma worlds are in despair. May I and all beings be freed from the karma worlds. The rupa worlds are in despair. May I and all beings be freed from the rupa worlds. The arupa worlds are in despair. May I and all beings be freed from the arupa worlds. All worlds are in despair. May I and all beings be freed from all the worlds. Nibbana is the only salvation. May I and all beings attain Nibbana. Nibbana is the only salvation. May I and all beings attain Nibbana. Nibbana is the only salvation. May I and all beings attain Nibbana. Letting go is the only salvation. May I and all beings let go. Detachment is the only salvation. May I and all beings be detached. Being freed is the only salvation. May I and all beings be freed. Nibbana is the only salvation. May I and all beings attain Nibbana. Nibbana is the only salvation. May I and all beings attain Nibbana. Nibbana is the only salvation. May I and all beings attain Nibbana. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the bondage of lust, freed from the bondage of aversion, freed from the bondage of delusion, freed from the bondage of Mara, healed with the eternal bliss of Nibbana, 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 healed with the eternal bliss of Nibbana. In concluding the sermon, let us all take a moment to transfer the merits that we have all acquired today. First and foremost, let us once again remind ourselves that it is because of the Supreme Buddha that we have the gift of Dhamma. It is because of his selfless commitment, his selfless dedication towards the liberation and deliverance of all sentient beings that we have the gift of Dhamma today, that we have the path to liberate ourselves from the shackles of samsara once and for all. Let us also take a moment to remind ourselves that it is the Bhikkhu Bhikkhunis, Upasak Upasikas who since time immemorial handed down the Tripitaka and passed it down through the generations all the way through to us. It is thanks to them that today we have the Tripitaka, the Dhamma that we can study, understand, analyze and comprehend. May they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana, and may all the members of the Mahasangha who are resident throughout the world who have donned robes to achieve their own liberation and yet have set aside time towards the liberation of you and I and all sentient beings. May they all be able to achieve the same bliss of Nibbana. And particularly on this occasion where you have come along to this monastery to make your offerings, to seek homage in the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha, let us not forget for a moment that although you are here today, it is the members of the Mahasangha who are resident in your local temples, in your local nunneries, who have always been by your side, come rain or shine, through thick and thin. They have always been there to support you, assist you, guide you, and direct you whenever there have been the tough times and the various vicissitudes of life have come down your way. Let us take a moment to transfer merits to all of them. May they all rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. If any of them have today been born in the woeful plains, may through the power of these merits they redeem themselves from those woeful plains and be born in the blissful plains. And may through the power of these merits they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to the devas, brahmanas, spirits, demons, and the dead, all those who have predeceased us, our ancestors, our forefathers, anyone and everyone who might have come across, who we might have come across in samsara, in whatever shape, form, or capacity they might have helped us, supported us, assisted us. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today, our mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, nephews, nieces, grandparents, so on and so forth, teachers, co-workers, colleagues, and so on and so forth. In whatever capacity they might have helped us, supported us, assisted us, to help lead good lives, to become better people, to make better people out of ourselves. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today, and particularly to those members of our families as well as our colleagues who might have taken upon themselves the burden that is bestowed upon us. So having taken upon our responsibilities and our duties today, they have relieved you of such duties and responsibilities to be here today, to listen to the Dhamma and to seek your salvation. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. May through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful plains, be able to redeem themselves from the woeful plains. Let us also not forget for a moment the members of the armed forces as well as the police force who during a long war in Sri Lanka fought with their lives to protect the peace and harmony of our country. It is thanks to them that today we are able to live in peace and harmony, as well as those men and women who might have lost their lives in the battles, in the wars, be they friend or foe. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today, as well as any man, woman or child who might have lost their lives in natural disasters such as the tsunamis, hailstorms, earthquakes and so on, not just in Sri Lanka but also in other parts of the world. Wherever they may be, if any of them are out there who are still seeking merits, may they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today, reminding ourselves that at some point in samsara they have all been a mother to us, they have all been a father to us. With compassionate thoughts towards all of them, let us take a moment to transfer merits. May they all rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. If any of them have been born in the woeful plains, may they redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plains. And may through the power of these merits they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to everyone and anyone who might have helped make this event a success, either by making these sermons available to you, or perhaps by making them known to you, or perhaps by offering you a transport to be here today, or perhaps by ushering you to a seat, or perhaps by making refreshments available to you. In whatever capacity someone might have helped you, supported you, assisted you to take on board these sermons, to listen to them, to come along to these sessions, either in person or by joining online, as well as those who make great effort to transliterate their sermons and make them available for mass consumption for those who are unable to listen to them but are able to read these sermons. Whatever contribution those among you and those who listen to these sermons make and continue to make, may they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. And may through the power of these merits they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may through the course of all the merits that we have all acquired today, in making offerings to the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha, in listening to the sermon, in preaching this sermon, in contemplating on anicca, dukkha, anatta, in practicing your meditation, in cultivating your thoughts of letting go, detachment and freedom, may through the power of all the merits that we have all acquired today, may they empower many hundreds of thousands of men and women just like yourself throughout the globe, and may through them we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of Arahatun Mahanses in this blessed land in our very lives itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may through the power of all those merits, you and I, and everyone who has contributed to making this event a success, making our journey a success, be able to become one of those Arahatun Mahanses, be able to become one of those Arahat Menin Mahanses in this life itself and in the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Members of the Mahasangha will now transfer their blessings to you. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fires of desire. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fires of aversion. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fires of delusion. May I and all beings in all worlds attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. May the Noble Triple Gem be with you all forever. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.